Hi, folks. So, today we are going to be talking about time management and how this relates to sustainability. Are you burnt out? Do you examine your use of time and consider time a valuable resource, one that you should budget and be accountable to? The old adage that time is money comes to mind here, just like in the segment that I did on budgeting. Do you spend your time in a way that aligns with your personal or familial values? Or do you find yourself just drained and burnt out, spending energy just running in circles every day? So, here are a couple of ideas, some things that I do as a NAT, a neuroatypical, part of what goes on with my brain is that I don't really always see time as a linear thing. I often see it in terms of now and not now. And so obviously this can be a big threat to budgeting my time effectively, as well as getting done the things that I need to be done when they need to be done. So I do some of these things to ensure that I'm effective with my time and that I'm able to meet deadlines and the expectations of other people that I commit to. So by following the system that I'm about to describe, it's come from countless trial and error to address executive dysfunction. It keeps me accountable to staying present and engaged in the moment to the best of my ability. So this part matters to me when I asked you all, are you spending your time in a way that aligns with your personal or familial values? Because I greatly value interpersonal relationships as well as my family. So if I spend time with the people in my household, with my friends, or with extended family, or even if I just devote time to sitting with myself, I want to ensure that I'm in that exact moment. And this is where budgeting time comes into play. So this is a really valuable attitude for me to have because I love making memories and holding the space too to process some of the more difficult things that life inevitably throws our way, right? So the strength of this system here, now keep in mind we're discussing all of this within the realm of sustainability. So we're using the SWOT technique here too. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and possible threats to the current setup that I use? So the strength of this system is that I map out the imperatives first, big goals, big deadlines. If it's like if you're in school, then okay, you have a test on this date. And then I back it up a little bit and I break those bigger imperatives into deadlines or smaller schedule items to ensure that I have the room to pivot or readjust and still complete the things that I set out to do. So in doing that, there's a lot of opportunity created for some flexibility and to add a little bit more resiliency into the system. So some of the weaknesses, though, are just how life inherently works. Schedule and structure need to account for the limits of daily life. So when we talk about sustainability, we look at the environment, we look at the social element, the social sphere, we look at the economic sphere. All of these things have finite limits, right? And so the thing here is that the structure needs to account for the limits of daily life. There are only going to be 24 hours in each of the 7 days per week, period. Currently, I have a lot on my plate, and that in itself is a weakness of the system because it doesn't allow much room for the shocks to the time management system to the degree that I prefer and that I typically have and where I'm comfortable. I abhor busyness. Because I feel like, for me at least, it tends to represent a lack of true prioritization and it leaves little room for self-care, recharging, or even being able to show up for other people, something that I already mentioned was important to me. So as a recap, using SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, sustainability concept to assess my current time management setup. One of the strengths, and I'm about to go over how all this works. So one of the strengths are that I can set reminders and timers across all of my devices. I map out my priorities, and there's no limit to the number of items or anyone to question the validity of setting an alarm to take a shower. I'm sure a lot of other parents can really feel me on that one. So some of the weaknesses are that sometimes it is a little time consuming to ensure that I have a paper copy that matches my devices for the days that I unplug. That is something that I schedule in as well. With everything on my plate, it's become smaller periods of time where I unplug, even if it's just to take a nap and feel like a human again. So I have to really make sure going forward that there is more resiliency in my schedule, because there isn't much resiliency in my summer plans and time management, because there just simply isn't a lot of flexibility to account for the unexpected. I mean, I've been very fortunate in the last month or so, and just through some, footwork on our end as a family, we've had a lot of essentially answered prayers, for lack of a better word, right? So this is where opportunity comes in. The opportunity here, especially in going over this, is to be accountable to my time and to list only absolutes and a few ideas, and being a little bit more graceful with myself for the more theoretical deadlines, the ones that I create where it's like, okay, here's the big goal, here's the imperative or what have you, and then giving myself enough room to spread these things out and then adjust as necessary, right? This is why I have emotional and mental health items on the schedule. I have to ensure that if I don't have time for daily walks outside, yoga, meditation, etc., to the degree that I want, I also have those built-in meetings with professionals, support groups, etc., to stay on track with my values and refill my cup if other things start to fall to the wayside. So I have the opportunity created within this system, and by doing it that way, to mine from these things and be able to adjust my thinking and hold space for how I feel when shocks to that time management system happen, so I don't feel like I'm drowning, and then maybe take that stress out on other people being short, etc. So how I respond and react when things happen that are beyond my control, which is almost all of parenting small children, is really important, and it's really important in time management considerations, because I have to stay balanced and on an even keel in order to set a good example, engage, and be present. So just a couple in the sustainability discussion threats to the schedule and the way that we have it set up are that my fiance has an incredibly unpredictable work schedule, the volume of his work, and the fact that I get really limited help, especially with everything going on right now. So I have to be very careful currently with balancing self-care, personal maintenance, and related items so that I feel replenished enough to be clear on my priorities, which is showing up and engaging with our child first and foremost, being present and attentive with her and my fiance when we do get time together, and then maybe making time for things like academic pursuits or my work, whatever that may be that applies to you, plug that in there. There isn't much time for anything outside of this, but life happens, and things like assessing financial matters, budgeting, errands, they all still need handled. And so I'm not very well equipped to handle shocks to the system at the moment, the system that I've created. So the majority of this, just the resiliency piece and the ability to withstand those shocks to the system, come from having the things in place that I mentioned, so that I can accept the things that I don't have control over, and attempting to safeguard my time, my peace, and set realistic expectations and boundaries with others concerning the time that I do have available, because those limits absolutely exist. So I pulled out my paper planner. This is something that I found a date that was blank, and this is something that's really helpful for me because of the way that my brain processes information. Unfortunately, everything just automatically registers as a priority, and so that's something that I'm still working on, different strategies and like coping skills to be able to kind of sort those things out. But I can list them, here, and then it's very blank and distraction free. So this also has a monthly guide so that I can put things like medical appointments or our child's well check-ins. You can put those important things in the monthly, and that always coincides with whatever week pages are included, these guys that I showed you all first. So one of the things that I do I'm going to kind of pull this a little far away because I want to, kind of protect the personal information of myself and my family a little bit here. So I will outline all of these things and then my steps along the way, and then I just cross it off and move it to another day if it's not something that can get done. If these are the more abstract things that I set for myself where I'd like to have X thing done by whatever day so that I can have a little flexibility there, then, that's good too. If I don't finish it, then okay, fine. We just cross it off and move it to another day. And then things, for example, like to-do reminders to make sure that maybe I call some folks, I set some appointments, whatever that is. Those will typically get Post-it notes. And so these are generally reserved for, like I said, important meetings. And I try to keep those pretty light right now because we have a lot going on as a family. I also include some things in there for just the folks close to us, birthdays or doctor's appointments or something important that they have going on, because they may tell me at the time, and then my brain just purges that information when I get into the flow of the day. So I have my phone where I set alarms. And all throughout the day, you can adjust those periodically to represent, okay, here's when I would like to be up. I also set reminders for, like, take a shower at this time, take a break at this time, take, time for lunch at this time, dinner at this time. Our daily schedule is pretty much set for everybody's up by, including the baby, by 8:30 in the morning. And there's an app for that as well. We purchased a Hatch for her. And it's a little bit of classical conditioning on our part, and it's set with various sounds. And so it connects through Wi-Fi, and we can set and program schedules for her. So there are little buffers on her pre-programmed schedules for, okay, this is her wake time, this is relax, this is a nap time. And they all have different sounds and lights to kind of indicate the flow of the day. And the big piece again there is being really flexible with how those things work, understanding that I'm not the supreme architect of life for myself and other people, and to be able to be flexible. And so a key benefit here is that having the Apple devices, for example, I'll get the alarms on my watch if I'm, the phone's up and away so that I can focus with baby, but maybe we're getting close to dinner time. There's an alarm set for that to remind me so that I know, go stir this thing, go do this thing, go start this thing, or what have you. Same thing with the phone. Those alarms are set, as well as the calendar program. And I really like that because on each day, you get the little dots where there are events, right? And then when you set them up, you can add various invitees. So I can let other people know what's going on. We can clue in a family calendar, things like that I feel are very effective to keep everyone on the same page. And that also helps to kind of compensate for some more of the weaknesses of just the general chaotic life that is parenting young children, and being able to stay flexible so that other people get those notifications too of what's going on. And if I have to reach out and say, oh my gosh, I need help, we have XYZ thing coming up, and we're just struggling today, they generally have an idea of what's going on. I've read numerous parenting articles about how one of the best things that you can do for young children to help them feel safe and secure is to have a routine, a structured, not necessarily schedule per se, because they're tiny humans and they're going to do what they want when they want to do it. And I just choose not to fight with her on it. So we just have a really loose, broad idea of like, okay, these are the things that happen throughout the day. These, obviously we need to hit 3 meals and 2 snacks, and we follow the AAP recommendations on those. They're actually framed on the dining room table. And then we know that she'll generally take 1 nap, and here's about the time that it needs to happen, and her wake times. And so my schedule kind of revolves around those things. Before tackling some projects this summer, I had specific days for different items. Tuesdays and Thursdays were reserved for laundry. I'm not the lady that's constantly got a mountain of laundry going, so that's the thing that goes in the schedule, Tuesday and Thursday for laundry. Thursday was also deep cleaning day, vacuum every day, and wipe things down. But Thursday was the day that I would go through. I'd hit the baseboards, I'd hit the blinds, I'd, get everything dusted. I'd wash all of the bedding, things like that, so that we could really make sure that our environmental health was considered there. Thursdays used to be date nights so that my significant other and I could make sure that we got some time to just kind of get a change of scenery and check in with each other. I really do miss those. That has suffered a lot since lockdown. I'm trying to think of what else. Tuesdays are the days that I check in with my spiritual advisor. That is one that is still happening, thankfully. And all of those things are included in the daily calendar, but they are pretty specific and they list names and things as well. So I'm not really going to get too far into that, but you can get a general idea just from looking far away. I am quite packed as far as the schedule goes, and I use the Post-it note system to draw my attention to things that are priorities or things that I feel like I may get distracted and end up falling to the wayside on. That's just something that helps with me. And so setting timers too throughout the day, like if I have an activity or a thing that needs to be done, I'll say, hey Siri, set a timer for, however long, even if it's just, oh my gosh, mom needs to take a shower. I have exactly 7 minutes to get this thing done. Hey Siri, set a timer for 7 minutes. And that's something that I think has been really effective for us because it helps make sure that we are accountable to our time and that we're being effective and useful in that area so that we can have areas of less structure where we can just let life and family memories and those moments that we want to engage and be present and unplugged, we can just let them happen organically and we can really enjoy each other once we know that the responsibilities of adulthood have been taken care of. So that's my piece on time management. At this time, I don't really think that I want to have any links posted. I might post a couple about the importance of time management and balancing those things. But in general, those are my thoughts on the system. That's how it works for me. And if you have any feedback, as always, I am welcome to hearing that. But more than anything, most of my time is spent checking in and investing in these wonderful living beings around me. And that's not really something that you can schedule. So I try to be better at that every day, better today than I was yesterday with that. And if something's not working, then I take a look at that. I consider what the schedule for the day looked like, and I can see typically, I didn't really allow some time to invest with these living beings because I stacked this thing up too high, or I gave it maybe a little bit more importance than it not deserved. I feel like that's not a fair word to use, but hopefully you guys get what I mean by that. So paper planners, calendars in your phone. You can use G Suite, Google Calendars for things if you want. Setting daily reminders, timers, alarms, getting on a good schedule to ensure that your emotional, mental, and physical well-being is taken care of. There are various wellness apps available to make sure you're getting an adequate amount of sleep, and to just track general things like sleep, activity. Now even the new Apple Watch has a heart rate sensor. All of that is saved in health and wellness. And it's really just up to you how you want to spend your time and what is important to you as far as what you decide to spend your time on. So, as per usual, thanks for coming to Mom's house. Drink plenty of water, eat something from the earth, go get some sunshine, and if you can't find any sunshine, then maybe you need to be the sunshine. Thanks, friends.